Good evening. The Toronto Raptors win 114-99 against Ish Smith, JT Thor, Bryce McGowan's, Nick Richardson, Ish Smith. Did I say his name already? Um, this game was on track for being like an all-time embarrassment. And the starting lineup, which Darko is still assessing what he sees from the starting lineup. If this game doesn't change the starting lineup, my fuck was that just horrible games from Jakob, Dennis, and OG Anunoby. Um, and it's Scottie plus the bench that comes in. The Raptors were down by, Matt Devlin was really into this game. Like Matt Devlin showed up. Matt Devlin showed up for this game. The Raptors did not. Matt Devlin was into this thing. Like 5-point game, 4-point game, 3-point game. Like all through the first half, he was really into this one, and it was just embarrassing. So embarrassing to watch. And then third quarter happens. They got a little bit of juice from Pascal drawing two and then kicking out, but then it was Scottie plus the bench that comes in, and the specific lineup was Scottie, Gary, Malachi, Boucher, Achua. That combination got them from being down by 5-point game to being up by 7 or 8, I think maybe even 10 at one point, but pretty much like totally swung the game. Pretty incredible what happens when you take the ball out of Dennis's hands, put it in Scottie's hands, and put shooters there. Pretty fucking amazing what can happen with that. And really good bounce back game from Gary. I think Adam Laskers put out that this is Gary's first 20-point season or 20-point game. I think he got 20 or 19 or 20 or whatever, but last season he had 24 20-point games, so it kind of puts into context like Charlotte, they were just like they had no offensive system. It was like Ish Smith driving, taking a fadeaway. Like Ish Smith like last night I got really stoned and watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander highlights for like organized highlights, like all of his fadeaways, all of his, hook shots, whatever. And he takes a lot of those, like, basically the same types of shots, just with like a quarter of the efficiency or aesthetically pleasingness. And that was a bunch of their offense tonight. Was like really difficult step back shots from Terry Rozier and Ish Smith. Brandon Miller made some really tough shots, and they kind of like relied on that because this is barely like a functional NBA. Like even with all their guys, they're a bottom 4 NBA team, and they were missing like most of their players. Like if the Raptors would have lost this, they were down at half. I think the Raptors were down at 4 at half. So it would kind of remind me of like the Pistons like Wingstop logo. Like where they're gonna put the Wingstop logo, Wingstop. I don't know, but rough first half. You have OG Anunoby. I don't know what he was doing tonight. Like body language too was really bizarre. Almost like someone. Just gonna fire up the box score here, just because I need to know what he got. He had 5 points tonight. He was 2 for 10. In 32 minutes, 2 for 10 in 32 minutes, 0 for 5 from 3. And he, that one friend that when you do edibles, like he doesn't, or she or she doesn't do edibles that much, and then they just get really like laughy, and to the point where like someone has to kind of take care of them, and it kind of like dampens the vibe of the whole crew. That's what he was doing tonight. He was like laughing and giggling, like he would do something stupid, and then just kind of like laughing and kind of like walking up the court like as they're down by 5 to JT Thor and Ish Smith. Like just he had absolute, like it honestly seemed like he was on like some kind of drug. Dennis and Jakob started this game. They had 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, the two of them. 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes doing their pick and roll stuff. which is Darko's favorite part of the Raptors offense, is the Dennis Jakob pick and roll. Like everything has to flow through that in the start of the games, and it's the start of the games where they just suck shit, and he just has not budged. He loves it. He absolutely loves it, and it's not a coincidence. In my opinion, it's not a coincidence that the Raptors get down by these big margins, and then the late game comebacks are usually a combination of like bench, Scottie, maybe not Scottie with 4 bench guys, but like Scottie, Pascal and bench, Scottie, OG and bench. Those are the lineups that seem to, infuse these comebacks. Boucher, Precious even sometimes. Like Jakob did not see the floor, I don't think, in this. Jakob might not have played in the second half. Maybe somebody in the chat can, but I don't think. Like, I think Jakob maybe played like. Felt like he played like 5 minutes, and they were all really bad 5 minutes. Played 15 minutes. That's it. So he played 15 minutes. Precious played 18 minutes. So Boucher played 15 minutes. So that I mean, maybe that kind of shows that Darko's realizing kind of what I think a lot of people. I mean, Jakob has a 16 or 17% turnover rate. So that's the highest on the team from anyone who's played like minutes. And so you just see that tonight. Like, I don't know, he gets praised for his IQ and whatever, but if you're that soft on the ball, like if you have that, like he's so weak on the ball. Like he just doesn't do anything with force or strength. And it kind of negates what you can do like in the weight room. If you're not strong on the ball, then like you got one one rebound tonight in 15 minutes. One rebound. They showed him yawning on the bench by the way. I wrote it down. 4:02 of the fourth quarter, Jakob Poeltl is yawning on the bench. Like he's just not even, whatever, man. I was traded for a first round pick. This team's going nowhere, whatever, fuck it. Like I think he's been very disappointing this year. I know Brad Fay loves the field goal percentage thing, but I mean, I think DeAndre Jordan used to lead the NBA in field goal percentage even when he was kind of in his Axl Rose kind of washed phase. Is when every shot's at the rim, then him and Dennis tonight just brutal. 7 turnovers combined, 5 of them in the first 5 minutes. And when they're on the court together, it's like everything Dennis brings the ball up every single time. Scottie never brings the ball up. Pascal never brings the ball up. Dennis brings the ball up, and I made a video about this. I got another Dennis video coming out, by the way. Dennis running away from Trae Young. They showed that highlight on the pregame show today. Just like some of the lowest basketball IQ stuff, like high school basketball, stuff that bad high school basketball teams do. Typically, I have to rewatch these games to get like the defensive X's and O's. But from that game, I mean, the Hornets don't have a Trae Young, obviously, but just this useless switching they were doing on the perimeter was just leaving Trae like wide open. And if Dennis isn't bringing it defensively, then he's also like dominating touches and time of possession, and it's unfortunate because at the start of the year it was really good. I mean, like, okay, the Raptors won, should I be more positive? Probably, but I mean, this literally like the Charlotte Hornets, this would be if like the Raptors were without their best, so without Scottie not playing, without, I mean, Miles Bridges is probably their second best player maybe. Like, so imagine like no Scottie, no Pascal, no, they didn't have their Mark Williams, so maybe no Precious / add Boucher into that as well. Maybe no Gary because he didn't have what's his face, Gordon Hayward. Like it was. I mean, for them to even be down at half, I think they should have I think the game should have just ended at half. I don't think the Raptors even deserved to win this game. They're down by 4 at the half. And this is something we've seen all year with these really slow starts. And sometimes you get nice highlights and stuff out of the pick and roll that Dennis and Jakob connect on, but it really dominates the offense. And like I made the OG video, like the last one I made, where he didn't take a shot until like 5 minutes into the first quarter because it's just everything running through Dennis and Jakob. And it's a very old school way of playing. It's very like, it's a motion offense with a 1-5 pick and roll. There's nothing at all There's nothing innovative about that whatsoever. You could argue Scottie and Jakob doing a pick and roll, which how many of those have we seen this season? Like 3 or 4 maybe. That would be at least innovative because you've got more of like a 4 and a 5 setup. And even in this game, it's like you would think maybe against the Charlotte Hornets, depleted roster, you would like try some stuff in this game where you're trying to figure stuff out. But again, it's Darko doing the same things, same starters, same strategy, same offense, same guys playing, with each other or whatever. Like and within that, like kind of grasping onto this, it's kind of like Kitchen Nightmares with like a restaurant owner that's just like grasping onto something that maybe isn't necessarily real. I really do think Darko is doing that with the starters, and it just makes absolutely no sense. Because again, you see what happens when like Gary's having an off shooting season. The argument to put Gary in the starting line, I don't believe in this whole like you have to earn it or whatever. That to me is the same as the vibes thing. It's the same bullshit. It's like, do you want to win the game? Maybe put a guy out that demands spacing, even if he's not shooting it that well. It's still on every team scouting report. Gary Trent Jr. from 3. Dennis from 3 is not on the scouting report. Jakob Poeltl from 3 is not on the scouting report. Scotty's barely even on a lot of the team scouting reports. So when you've got someone like Gary in there, just by default, you're going to create more space on the floor. And then even if, I guess Dennis isn't going to be in that situation, which that's kind of the thing from, the armchair psychologists, like the people in the chat and myself and people who don't have access to the team, including myself, kind of have to play this armchair psychologist from far away. And it does kind of seem like Darko and Dennis have this relationship where I'm not sure how that conversation would go of like, hey, Dennis, this, whatever you're doing with Jakob and dribbling the ball a bunch and being number 1 on the team in touches over Scotty, number 1 on the team in touches, or number 1 on the team in possession over Scotty. Like we're gonna make a slight, like you're 30 years old. You've had you've played predominantly most of your career. You would think there's this like future superstar on the team. We're gonna maybe give some of your touches to him so that he has the most touches and most possession, and maybe you have like the second most. Would that be okay? And I don't honestly like, watching Dennis's content throughout the years, hearing things on podcasts, listening to him on the Raptors show, there does seem to be a little bit of gaslighting is a harsh term, but I've noticed some things, we'll say, as someone in therapy. I've noticed a few, like I don't look at the box score after shooting whatever it was, like 2 for 14 or something. I'm only worried about the future, not the past. And it's like, well, okay, well, that's a very convenient way to go through life because then you never have to take responsibility for anything. And again, yeah, if this game, if Darko is honestly like is telling the truth that he needed these 2 games to see whether the starting lineup had it, which was a loss against the Atlanta Hawks and barely getting a W against a G League team. And that W coming as a result of, again, Scottie plus bench. Pascal really woke up in the second half, but it was Scottie plus bench that. And this whole Jakob thing is super weird. Like this whole situation is super weird now, because he clearly does not fit with the team. Like it's so obvious. Like what situation in what context does he fit? Unless you're running Jakob Scotty pick and rolls, which again, I don't know if they've really even tried that. But with the way that they're running things now, like he's not closing any of these games. Like if there's a close game, he's not closing it. Even Nick didn't close Jakob all the time. There was one game, I made a video about this, against the Utah Jazz, where they got like 14 possessions or 14 buckets in a row at the rim, and Nick still didn't put Jakob in the game. And I mean, he's slow, he's soft, he doesn't shoot. He's just so, like, I'm not saying he's soft as a person, but just like anytime he touches the ball, it's just it's so feeble. It's so like you just want to like throw him against the wall as like, you know those I didn't bully people in high school, but there's people that made me want to become a bully, and it's just like you're just so weak and feeble. I just there's something about you I just want to throw in a locker. I never did that, but you have thoughts, and he's just one of those people where it's just like, can you like, can you even do yoga? It's just, yeah. I mean, once every 3 games, he'll have like a hard dunk that he'll just make a cut on, but it's just so like it's so flimsy. Um, and if you can't dominate, like Jakob should have dominated in this game. They have no Mark Williams. Their center rotations, their centers are JT Thor, who I like. You could tell me that was a wrestler, and I would believe you. This was like a Curb Your Enthusiasm character. And Nick Richards, who is a Arnold Schwarzenegger character from Kindergarten Cop. My name is Nick Richards. Like that's who you get played off the floor. 1 rebound and what, five I think 5 points or something. 4 points. 1 rebound and 4 points. 2 assists in 15 minutes. With 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers and 4 points. Like that's what you did against the G League team. Not a G League team, but like, what is this version of the Charlotte Hornets? It's not quite an NBA team, but it's not quite a G League team. Like this version of the Charlotte Hornets is probably what like it might even be worse than the Pistons, if we're being honest, because at least the Pistons have Cade. Great Michael Wilbon clip about or people sleeping on the Pistons, and he's like, yeah, I think they are. They've got Cade. They're gonna do something. Like that's all that there was. So this Hornets team, tell me in the chat. I'll read it. I'll read in a couple of minutes. Like, if this Hornets team, as the way they were constructed today, went up against the Pistons in a 7-game series, like, I'm taking the Pistons in 5, 6, 5.5. I mean, this should have been a blowout. I mean, the Sixers beat this team with a bunch of their people by 76,000 points. I don't know if you guys saw the graphic, because they showed the score. It was 135 to 82, but on ESPN or whatever, it just showed the 76. I was going on Twitter where it's, it was 76, 150, 135 to 82 or whatever. Like, I mean, this should have been a blowout. This should have been a blowout for the Raptors. And you even got some... Terry Rozier. I thought the coach, don't know what Steve Clifford is doing, taking Terry Rozier out for that long. He took him. That to me is what lost them the game, hypothetically or potentially. Again, it's like they're trying to manage fouls for a situation at the end of the game, but there is no situation. There's no. Now you're down by 12 points and you put Terry Rozier back in when he was like running the show, and you give the keys to Ish Smith, who again is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 15% efficiency, like taking the same shots, but 75 or 85, whatever the math is, 85% worse. Like it's kind of baffling on his part. I think Brandon Miller looks pretty good. He made some really difficult shots in the game, and just like going through all the rookie stats, he's right, kind of top. Any way you kind of rig the rookie stats, he's going to be in the top 5 pretty much for everything. So maybe they hit on something there. I don't think he's quite Brandon Pajemski, who maybe could have saved the Raptors franchise. He really is like a bite-sized Scotty Barnes if you watch him. It's really, really fun to watch. They definitely hit on that pick. Why am I talking about Brandon Pajemski? Did I mention Dwayne Casey in the building tonight? I guess, I don't know if he's gloating or just taking it all in, taking in the experience. So just a couple plays from the game. Precious Precious played a decent game, but just smoking the backboard on a 3, maybe even harder than the one Dennis did. Charlotte went on an 11-0 run in the first quarter, and I thought there was 3 bad goaltending calls in this game. I don't. I say I don't understand the goaltending rules. I do. I just don't understand why they're the way that they are. I thought 2 against the Raptors and 1 even against Charlotte. That I was like, I only think it should be goaltending if you're like hanging on the rim or like punching the ball up from. I think they need to change that because it's just so stupid. It's like, oh, we have to stop the game and bring out like the hawk angle camera with the 2 fucking circles of like, oh yeah, this like Pythagorean theory of where the ball was. It's just like, I don't know. That to me is way gone. It's like way beyond what it has to be. Way more complicated than it has to be. Unless you're hanging on the rim or punch or holding the bottom of the netting and just flicking the ball up under. Otherwise, like, what are we doing? Like, these are blocks in the flow of the game. This is a basketball play. Like, if you were on the playground and you called goaltending on those, it'd be like, it's really dumb. They let the guys hang on the rim. Precious hung on the rim for a couple seconds there on a big dunk. That's nice. Haven't seen any rim injections. Jakob and Dennis, 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. Raptors had 19 points in the first quarter. 19 points. Like, that's your starting unit. That's Darko's like this is how we want to set the tone, start the games out with just a completely it's so juiceless. Like, it really hit me when if you haven't seen it, I hate promoting my own stuff, but go watch the OG Anunoby Jimmy Butler video I put out a few days ago. It didn't really hit me until I made that, of just how sluggish and boring, and it's so not 0.5. It's so not 0.5. Like, I know it made fun of 0.5. If anything is 0.5, it's Scottie with like Boucher, Malachi, Precious, and Gary. Like, that's when it actually is 0.5. But with Dennis and Jakob and OG and stuff, like, all 3 of those guys are not quick decision makers. Maybe Jakob is, but when you have a 17% turnover rate, maybe your decision making isn't that great in general. Like, maybe the decision to do a bit of hand workouts, even simple like grabbing gymnastics rings with no tether or anything, and just doing like wrist rotations on that. You do that for a minute and a half. It doesn't look like much, but like, holy fuck, it starts to burn. Something with his hands are just awful. Like, he has terrible hands, even for a big guy. Just horrible hands, like Aaron Baines level hands. Like, he's just, I don't know what he does pregame, if he's oiling them up or something, but the ball just slides through him. Like, there's no force on anything that he does. There's no oomph to anything. Like, even his screens are not that. Like, he's not setting like Aaron Baines type screens. He's not doing hard dunks. Look, he got a couple nice blocks against Trae Young, but he's not like, he shut down the Pistons. I remember that was one notable game. But all in all, like, there just isn't that oomph that you would kind of hope for. Like, he doesn't have the Drew Eubanks oomph, honestly. But yeah, this. What do you guys think? Are people happy about the win? You know, what is it? 2 more games. Does this count towards the pizza party? I feel like this should be half a game. Like, this is half a game. I don't know what Kate was doing on the pregame show, and she was like, they've got a hard schedule coming up. They've got Denver, was it Philly, Sixers, and the Jazz. It's like, you don't have to say the Jazz. You can just skip that one, or say the next hard team that they have to play. And she did it like 3 times. Do you guys notice that they do the exact same thing in the pregame show as they do at the start of like the show? I don't know. They could vary it up a little bit. Vegan Grass's Scottie plus bench has shown flashes of great stuff. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been rough sometimes, but it works really well when someone like Gary is hitting shots, which he like hasn't done a ton of this year. But yeah, I think those lineups need more looks. And even if you're adjusting, like putting Pascal into some of those lineups, um, I just think that Scottie. I mean, I don't. I think everybody can see this except like Darko. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I just think like tonight's game. Just how many more examples do we need that Scottie should be the primary creator on the court? Like it just the whole thing just works so much better. Again, I've talked about this like ad nauseum, but when he's scoring and aggressive and attacking and a feature of the offense, teams do not know what to do because he can get into the paint, he can shoot threes now, he can pass, he can finish at all three levels. It's like it's a nightmare situation to try to guard. And then even and Pascal as well, like today they I don't know, they started sending doubles just like automatically. They had Ish Smith. I don't know what Steve Clifford was doing in this game, but you got Ish Smith like guarding him, and then they're just automatically sending doubles instead of like one kind of impactful defender. And like those are the two guys that can create gravity in the offense. It's not Dennis and Jakob are not like teams aren't going like, oh fuck, we really gotta hone in on this Jakob Dennis pick and roll. We've got, you know, Dennis shooting 31% from three, and Jakob, who 9.5 times out of 10 is not going to pop. We know exactly where he's going to go. And then again, like, oh, you got to give OG some love too. I mean, wow, what a awful game from OG Anunoby. Like just a stinker. And again, horrible body language, like he was on shrooms or something. He's giggling, he's laughing. It's not at all locked in. 2 for 10, 5 points, 2 turnovers, 3 fouls, 32 minutes. And just not being like impactful. I mean, and who was the guy that OG Anunoby shut down tonight? Did he shut down Brandon Miller, you know? Was that the big defensive assignment that got him tired on the offensive end? I think they've had a few days off as well. He just, I don't know, just absolutely did not have it. And it's kind of crazy looking at some of these, these bench numbers, like going through the whole team. This is strange, but I guess the end of the game really juked these numbers. Every single Raptor player is a plus. Every single player on the Raptors is a plus, except one. Who do you guys think? Who's the one player that's not a plus? And yes, it is Jakob Poeltl, who's a minus 12. So when everybody on the team is a plus and you're a minus 12, you might be the problem. They need an intervention. They signed this guy to a huge contract, and I mean it's not huge. It's not huge in relative terms to the NBA. It's funny, like he's never talked about in trades, but I would be curious because he is under a longer contract. So a team is going to see that as valuable. Hopefully they haven't watched a ton of Raptor games this season. But I do think he would still have value as a trade piece. And I'm just kind of surprised that he's never talked about in these kind of like scenarios with Pascal. And obviously his salary is quite big, so attaching him would be a big thing. But it makes no sense to me if he's on the team and you're not running Jakob's, if like he's not doing anything with Scottie. And funny enough, I've noted this before, Jakob and Scottie actually have decent chemistry. They just never work. They just don't ever do anything together. There's nothing, they don't run anything together. Maybe in transition once in a while, or maybe they'll find each other once in a while in a back cut or something, but there's no like initial action that's designed for both of them to have any kind of chemistry or synergy. And these are arguably two of your two best passers on the team. So if you're not using him in that role with Scottie, if you're literally just using him for Dennis Schroeder, like it just, I don't know. It just makes absolutely zero sense. I don't think it made a lot of sense with Fred either. Like, hey, we have this guy who's having a horrible down year. Let's go, let's go find a partner for him to, I don't know, get us into the again, not to rehash that, but to get us into the play-in. Really bizarre. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his future is on the team, but what if the Raptors play 26 games now? I've probably been disappointed with him in, I don't know, 16, 17 out of the 26. Really, the field goal percentage really doesn't move me, really does not inspire me. Again, this is like something DeAndre Jordan accomplished way, way late in his career. Every single thing was a dunk. It's a Brad Faye stat, and if you watch the context of the game, because they're using him as like a hub, which, like, the two ways that Scottie's most effective is being the main facilitator, like bringing the ball up the floor, getting into actions, or being a hub. Like, those are the two things he's good at. So how does Jakob fit into that? Like, and there's so many games where the Raptors are playing against, like tonight, for example, Nick Richards. What did Nick Richards do tonight? Nick Richards, Arnold Schwarzenegger character. Nick Richards, 10 points, 4 for 5, 10 rebounds. So Jakob Poeltl got out-rebounded by 9 by Nick Richards, who, don't know what his salary is, but I don't think you'd have to trade a first-round draft pick to get Nick Richards, who is a backup on a team that is third last in the NBA, I believe, or fourth last in the NBA. They're right above Washington, I think. So the backup center of like the fourth worst team in the NBA significantly outplays the guy that you gave up a first round draft pick for. And that's not an anomaly. That's not a like one-off bad game. That's an like, the team has so many issues. That's like an under talked about one, in my opinion. Like, that's and not to harp on this like too long, but I just thought in this game it really was just so evident. Like, again, would love to be a fly on the film wall of like, hey, we're gonna, like, watching this first quarter in the film room where the Raptors had 19 points and Dennis and Jakob had 5 turnovers. And it's like, this is the starting lineup. And you got to give a shout out to the bench. Like, you got to give a shout out to the bench tonight. Gary with 22, Precious with 12, Chris with 7. And not only that, but just like way more energy. Like, Gary had 10 rebounds tonight. Precious had 7. Like, Gary getting 10 rebounds is wild. That just shows that he was really engaged. 4 for 10 from 3. 22 points. He was led the game, I believe, in plus minus at plus 25. And again, as I said before, like, I don't subscribe to this whole like you gotta earn your starting spot. That's the same shit to me as the corporate vibes thing. Do you want to win games? What's more important, winning games and creating vibes that way, or this whole bullshit of like, oh, he didn't earn his role because, if you're Dennis, I guess, oh, my 3-point shot is 0.2% more efficient this year than Gary, so I'm in this. Like, I don't know. I think that's me personally. I'm not a coach. I have played on community, get to play at the community level. I think it's stupid. I think the whole earning your whatever is stupid. You should, if you're a coach, put out the lineup that you think is going to win the game. I don't, and I think the players are going to understand that. And if they don't, then, hey, Dennis, like, you're on a 2-year, $13 million contract. Like, you have more touches than the future of the franchise. if you can't have, I'm not saying he can't have that conversation, but if he can't have that, face that reality, I mean, kind of crazy if you think about it. But okay, what's going in the chat? Nameless. Poeltl got little hands and arms like a T-Rex. Does he have a negative? Does he have the Blake Griffin negative wingspan? But yeah, he does not play like a 7-footer. Like, again, like strength on the ball in any, like in soccer, strength on the puck in hockey. Like, it's so important. It's so much more important than just like sheer physical strength. Like, when he has the ball, it's just like, it's like a house of cards. You're just waiting for it to just fall from, like in the last video I made with OG. Like, I think the ball slipped out of Jakob's hands 4 times before OG got a touch in any spot that could remotely be a good shooting situation. Like, because he's the hub, because he's doing the Draymond Green thing, like, it just, so much of it runs through him. And unfortunately, fortunately for the Warriors, Draymond Green has good hands. He uses them to choke people, to punch people. Maybe doesn't use his hands for the best, but they're fucking good. You know what I'm saying? Pistons gearing up for a win 5 games from now, says Vegan Grass. That'll be fun. Vegan Grass has never seen OG laughing so much on the court before. OG doesn't take the Hornets serious is the only conclusion we can draw. I don't know what his motives were. I don't know what he was thinking about. But yeah, I noticed that 4 or 5 times. Like, you just did something really dumb on the court. You have like 2 points in this game, and you guys are losing to like a team that would be on par with the Pistons with who they're missing in the roster. And you're just like giggling and laughing like you're, putting at the driving range at an open gym, which is such a funny clip. I don't know how anybody can have that bad of a golf swing, even as like a bit. But yeah, he was like just kind of he had like Delano Banton energy tonight. Like, there was games last year where Delano would get like 7 turnovers and go like 0 for 6 in like 3 minutes, and then would come onto the bench and just be like cracking jokes and laughing. Like, that's what he was doing tonight. Again, it's like that one friend that does too much edibles. It's like, okay, like, are you okay? Are you here with us? Have you gone on to another level or something? Scottie looked like he was limping. Most people don't watch the pregame, so they repeat it. Well, maybe more people would watch it if they didn't repeat it, is what I'm trying to say. Vegan Grass, you trying to get what I'm saying? Gonna butcher your name here, sorry. Rujin Rui? Sorry. Gary will probably get the chain tonight for moral boost, but Scotty deserves it. Let's say still doing the chain. 2 more wins Darko's gonna get. Pizza party for Malachi. Jama Shala, sorry for butchering the names. Jakob could be great in a system versus smaller lineups, but his downside on touch at the rim, softness, and athleticism makes you question how he's considered a good starting center. Coloco. Darko just wants people to smile. I think that's like that was like a European, like an Eastern European thing of like, I don't think he meant it as like you're sexy when you smile or something, or smile like you mean it. Like, it's just more like a conversation you would have with like a Russian person. It's just like, you're so ugly when you smile, or the other way around. Kamara says a win is a win. Good fucking analysis. Why even do a post-game show if that's the case? We were playing damn Charlotte Swarm, some player. Okay. Sometimes the chat delivers, sometimes the chat does not deliver. But I don't know. That's pretty much all I have in terms of my notes. Matt Devlin really locked into this game. He was the only one enthusiastic in the first half. And yeah, it really, I mean, you've got Precious, Boucher, Malachi, Scotty, Gary that really, brought the game from, they went on a 12-2 run. And that, the Hornets, and at the end, by the same token, like Steve Clifford, how many fouls did Terry Rozier end up with in this game? Because he had 4 fouls. And yeah, wow, Steve Clifford, wow, fucking genius. How many fouls did Terry Rozier in the game with? 4. So you took out your only like good player on this team. You took him out with 4 fouls in the third quarter. Didn't sub him back until like midway through like the fourth quarter. The Raptors are already up by like 10 or something, and he ends the game with 4 fouls. When he didn't start Terry Rozier in the fourth, I was like, this is nuts. I think it was 147 of the third, and it's just like, how is he not in? Beginning of the fourth quarter, how is he not in? You got Ish Smith trying to be Shea Alexander. He's on his 26th team in 10 years. I mean, no disrespect to him, but like it is pretty incredible how he stayed in the league this long when you've got all like these, talented, you got random people from Europe coming over. Just like it's kind of incredible that he has made a career out of playing no defense and having like, I don't know what his true shooting is, probably like 45 or something, just guessing. And he's been on like every team in the NBA except the Raptors have been like, hell yeah, we'll get Ish Smith in here. Which again, if LaMelo Ball is playing, I'm not sure how much run he's getting. And then so you got Ish Smith and Nick Smith, who coming into this game was shooting like 56% from 3. Definitely did not do that in this game. Nick Smith Jr. 1 for 5 from 3, -12. I think those numbers are going to dip for him a little bit. But yeah, Ish Smith -21. Like, I feel like he really got, and Terry Rozier only -3 because it was Scottie plus bench igniting it in combination with Steve Clifford basically throwing the game away by not putting in, especially in a night like tonight where you have your like half G League, half NBA team. You actually have a like legit scorer, and you take him out as like you're worried about this really going down to the wire, and you're gonna need him to get those. You're gonna need a 2 foul blanket or cushion for Scary Terry. That was like bizarre coaching, especially when you've got Nick and Nish. You got the Smiths. How soon is now? Bring Terry Rozier in. That was a good joke. Somebody get that in the chat. Did any of the 16-year-old boys in the chat get that one with the Smiths joke? Probably not. Any other final? Matau. How do you pronounce Mato? It could be pronounced so many different ways. Mato says, let's say Masai is fired and they give you the job. What are your first 3 moves to fix the Raptors? Oh God, off the cuff like this. 3 moves to fix. Well, the obvious move is getting a good point guard. I'm kind of sick of these combo guards. Like Fred's a combo guard, Dennis is a combo guard. I want like a point guard. So you're not going to get a prime point guard, but I also don't want an Ish Smith point guard. So, somewhere in the, well, like, even like San Antonio, like, can the Raptors call a favor from San Antonio? They don't seem to play Trey Jones at all. They want to do the Jeremy Sohan point guard experiment. They're not using him at all. His brother Tyus Jones is another good one. But you need that, like, I think you need a player like a Lowry type, because like even if Scottie is your main, if he's going to be your main facilitator, I think like most of the good teams have more than one player that can do that. So you don't want somebody taking a bunch of touches away from him. That's why you wouldn't want to get like a Kyrie Irving or like an upper echelon point guard. But you want to get somebody that can play with Scottie, can play with the bench units, someone who's not going to kind of get in the way of that, but can also, like, you can't have him be the only person that can do that, or else you're going to have these same problems where you're sending him in a, SOS mission in some of these lineups. So that's number one. Definitely want a center that can run the floor, can finish in transition. Like Scottie's really good in transition. So you want a big that is going to, like, you want, like, not saying you want Chris Boucher, but the way that Chris Boucher is there for a lot of Scottie's passes, because he is running the lanes properly. He's getting up and down the floor. Like Jakob doesn't do that. It's very like, it's just very, kind of reminds me of like Treebeard from Lord of the Rings. Just like, we're going down the floor now. We go to Isengard. Like he's just like walking to Isengard. So I want somebody that can like go to like Nick. Give me Nick Richards. Like, just honestly, give me somebody that's gonna get like 10, 12 rebounds a game, can run the floor, can finish passes. I don't need him to be a hub. I don't need a hub. It'd be nice, but it's hard to find hubs. I think if you've got Scottie and another point guard, you got your hub is your hub. I don't need a hub. You're not going to go and get Sabonis or something, so you don't need that. But you just need like, and I want someone that's like Precious shows it in flashes, but someone who like sets hard screens, who finishes dunks hard, like someone who has that presence, like Nick Richards is like a great example. Like you don't need the Mitchell Robinson, but I feel like that archetype, you don't even need I don't even think you need like a 3-point, because again, it's it's going to be difficult. The more attributes you add to this, by the way, the point guard that I would want them to be like a decent 3-point shooter, but the center, like it's going to be difficult to find like a 3-point center or 3-point shooting center that's going to run in transition like that and be good defensively. But I don't need the hub stuff, just do pick and roll. I don't need crazy, behind, over the shoulder, finding back cutters and stuff. I think Scottie's skill set is like quite adept with that. And then I would want another shooter. So talked about, Buddy Hield in the past, someone like, if Scottie's game is in ways similar to how Halliburton plays, like that dynamic of having somebody who wants to get the ball up the court quickly, and someone like Buddy Hield who can get into the spot to hit the transition three, or to hit, like a semi-transition three when the team is they're not coming back that strongly, and there's like gaps and stuff. Someone who knows how to shoot threes in transition, but can also be like a good, like you see just Gary's gravity, like even when he's not hitting shots, like you need that spacing, especially if you're not going to go get a 3-point shooting center, which again, it's kind of hard to find a center that's going to have all those qualities. The trades that you have to make to get those pieces, it's going to be like sacrifices, like you might lose a Pascal, you might lose an OG, but teams you're not getting that for a Malachi Flynn or a Precious Achiuwa. The other way to look at it is the one thing that Masai has done well, maybe not like amazing, but well, has been drafting. So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, do you want to maybe only get 2 of those pieces and then picks? Where's that balance of, I don't know if you just want to get all picks because then the team's going to be really bad. And it's like, I think it's like, just would Scotty want to be involved in something like that where it's just a complete, like, you're going to be the Jordan Poole basically. Like, I don't think that would really be that great. And I think the Raptors have enough assets, like even Jakob as an asset. I mean, still, it's not. It is a lot of money, but it's not like a Tobias Harris contract. I don't think. Maybe maybe after this year it will be. If he's getting 1 rebound and 4 points and 4 turnovers, then yeah, this is a Tobias Harris contract. But yeah, those are the types of pieces that I would want. And like, yeah, they definitely, like, this, you can get attached to stuff, but it's just so obvious. I mean, like, look at this game tonight. They're healthy. Like, who are the Raptors missing? Were the Raptors missing anybody to Otto Porter? Like, they have everybody. Everybody is here tonight. Everybody's here tonight. The whole party is here. And they can barely, the score doesn't really tell the story of the game. Like, they can barely kind of get over the hill against the depleted Hornets. So it's, I don't know what arguments you could make for not making big moves. But for me personally, everybody's on the table except Scotty. Like, every single player. There isn't a single player other than Scotty that if they traded out, go, oh my God, fuck, what are you doing? Not a single player. I'm not saying I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to miss, I don't know, OG's shtick about being Nathan Fielder. I'll really miss that. I'll really miss Gary's tracksuits. I'll really miss Jakob doing interviews and being like, I went to a wedding in summer, and he doesn't even talk like that. It's more like Dennis. And Will just being like, it's a great interview. It's just a great interview with Jakob. Yeah, I went to a wedding in the summer. I read a book in the summer. I won't miss. There's nothing I'm going to miss. People in the chat are talking about Russell Westbrook, so I just exit the chat. But yeah, there's nobody on this team other than Scotty where you would go. Again, I think my theory kind of holds up. I've been thinking about it more. Cool cat there. There's a Persian cat. There is another reality. Not saying this is necessarily what I would have done, but it's something I've definitely been thinking about a lot ever since I put it out into the ether, and I haven't really heard anybody else say this. I don't listen to much or watch much Raptor content. I think partially because I don't want to be corrupted, and then otherwise it's just like I don't really need to add another thing to the menu. But this idea of being like, who are the most talented people here in respect to their roles? You could say Scotty, Pascal, Nick Nurse, like in another reality. And you could have gutted the entire fucking thing except for those 3. And believe you me, the vibes would be different. If your whole thing is resetting the vibe, if you just gut the whole thing and keep those 3 pieces and build around that, I don't know if it would be any worse than what it is now. I'm just saying that's another reality. But the Raptors with kind of the new marketing or culture, corporate, whatever it is, I don't know. Maybe they're gonna bring in a bunch of players that are just for vibes. Maybe it'll be a bunch of vibes trades. Maybe they'll trade Pascal and OG, and they'll just get like 7 vets. Just get the whole board of the NBA Players Association. Just really double down on this whole idea of having vets on a team that has like no young players. Like, wow, it's really great that we have a vet for Pascal, you know. It'd be tough. It'd be like there's really good Tristan Forbes, I think is his name. He went on the Raptors show in the summer and just talked about like how difficult it is to make content and to like put content out, like if you're the Raptors social media admin when the team is, you know, like they are now. And I think it's kind of the same with like Open Gym put out their vets episode, and it almost seemed like a bit, like it's something you would do kind of to be funny. And yeah, it would be difficult, you know, because you can't really do like what I'm doing. You can't be like after social media person and be like, wow, this fucking sucks. Like, how the fuck does Jakob and Dennis, why are they the focal point of all these slow ass starts every game, basically 17 out of the 26 games probably? They have these slow ass starts where they're doing all of these pick and roll sets that are either turnovers or just slowing down the offense. We've completely left point five. Point five is October news. That's completely gone now. It's Dennis evaluating on the perimeter, has the ball. What was the Blake Murphy put out the thing or on the show? He has the ball for 6 minutes of the game, and Scottie has the ball for 3 minutes of the game. Like this whole point five quick bang bang thing. That was again, I know people really glommed onto that theory. It is just more of like a mindset. It's been around forever, but I mean, yeah, they have really like abandoned any kind of resemblance or semblance. Resemblance. Are those two words connected? Semblance and resemblance? Is that a coincidence? Yeah, I'm running out of steam. Didn't get the nap in today. Any last words in the chat? You guys still talking about Russell Westbrook and LeBron James or whatever? Really great stuff in the chat sometimes. Mattow says Raptors social media sucks even when we're having winning seasons. So I'm pretty new to like social media. I only really got into Twitter like summer 2022 and then YouTube pretty recently. So tell me some examples of it, or like what would you like to see different? I don't think they're really like, I think they're kind of in a box. Like I don't think you can really like you're not gonna, you know, it's kind of like a lot of people on TSN and Sportsnet as well. Like they're very different when they go on other platforms. Like when Leo goes on, which is funny because it's the Raptors channel, but when he goes on like the Raptors Tonight or whatever, or Jack, whatever that show is, where they're chewing and talking at the same time, which is genius. They got the Randy Urban is his name. He's on the set. Again, the host and these, you know, there's Brad Fay, Cape Your Nest, Randy Urban. You really need the host to bring, you know, if the people, they get a little bit wacky, they start saying, you know, like, you got to reel them in, you got to bring them back, maybe a little bit edgy, a little bit, got to bring it back in, slow it down. We got to slow it down. But they'll openly talk about like it not working and all that stuff, and then on the broadcast it's kind of a different story. So I don't know if there's like there's definitely got to be different rules, I would assume, for like the podcasts and the shows versus like the actual broadcast, because yeah, like, you know, watching Bally Sports, which I do sometimes, is like it's funny to me. It's just how local news-ish it is, but when you watch that stuff, it's like, even like, it's one of the reasons why I love watching the Pistons. Like the Bally Sports Pistons people, Pistons are down by 12 going into the fourth quarter, and they're like, do the Pistons have their swagger back? And it's like, and then they're like, does the studio have its swagger back? And they're all like happy and stuff, and they're on a 23 game losing streak. And they're saying, before Bogdanovic came back, they were saying things like, hey, I think this is a 500 team with Bogdanovic, Bojan, the Croatian one. Part of me kind of loves it when it I think that all that bullshit gets exposed when there's a 23 game losing streak. That's why I like tuning it, because they can never change the tune. It's always like, they got their swagger back, they're down 12. It's never an honest assessment of the situation, ever. Not ever, but when it's not going well, it's not an honest, like, it's not how they honestly feel. And I don't know what would happen if they just like went off, but I do think in the podcasts and the shows and stuff, I think there it's a lot more open to say stuff. But in terms of like the social media and the broadcasts, I just don't think they're given like much leeway. It's kind of like I have this issue with like the courtside reporting position just in general. And it's not like any particular courtside reporter. I just think it's like the way the position is designed. It's just like, it's outdated, and it's like for me, it's like from an old broadcasting model that hasn't adapted to like the online world. So yeah, I don't know. It would be really difficult to like make content when the team is like that. And you look at all the comments, and it's like, go win a game, you guys suck, fuck you guys, go trade Jakob or whatever. And it's just some like 17-year-old person on the admin account just being like, well, yeah, it's tough. There's definitely a Scientology component to it, and it really gets exacerbated and kind of exposed when there is a 23 game losing streak. And that's why those broadcasts are an absolute treat to tune into. Where it just kind of becomes like a parody. It's art. So I think that's pretty much it. Any final last words in the chat? I can't watch Leo eat everybody's food for 15 minutes straight while I'm hungry at night. It is a weird, like, it's just, I don't know do they eat like before the show? Because like the food is there, but it's like half, again, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a bunch of half-eaten food. That's visually very appealing. And it's gonna be getting cold, I guess, while it's sitting there. So it's like a formality. And then sometimes they'll just like start eating like a chicken wing. Like one of them start eating a chicken wing. And it's like, who thought this was a good idea? Having like, who else has done, like, what other notable shows are doing this where you're having a discussion while you're eating? Like, I get coffee, you're having coffee or drinks or something, that's different, but like eating like chicken wings. There's one episode where Leo was licking his fingers individually. I clipped it and put it in a video once. I should go find that. But it's like, yeah, it's probably not how I would design it. And if I was the host of that thing, I would just let the boys cook. Just let them cook. I don't need to reel them in or have my little, like, okay, I looked up that the Raptors or whatever. Again, the whole hosting thing. The broadcast is catered to the masses and casual fans. The pods are catered to who are the podcasts catered to? Hardcore fans. The average fan doesn't watch those. So I agree. But my whole thing is, so for example, you've got TSN1. So on my cable package, there's TSN1, TSN2, TSN3, TSN4, TSN5. TSN, like there's 5 fucking there's 5 fucking sports nets. Could you not have more than one broadcast? Like, we saw during COVID that the broadcasters don't even have to be at the game. Like, it's probably better that they are, but if you want to save costs, like, couldn't you have, just for example, maybe one that's more geared towards like the quote unquote hardcore fan. Maybe there's swearing. Maybe it's more like less Scientology like and just kind of real, you know. My dream has always been, it's probably never going to happen if you look at the NBA website and the NBA app and all that, but like the NBA taking ownership of its product, streaming it, and having different broadcast options of like, oh, I want to watch the family like I want to watch Matt Devlin going 5-point game, 4-point game, JT against JT Thor and Ish Smith, 5-point game. Like, I want that with the family, the kids, the fireplace. And then next night I'm out with my friends, we're on mushrooms, and I want the like adult version, you know. Why can't we have more than one broadcast? It costs millions and millions of dollars, if you think about it, to put on a single game. If you look at all the players' salaries, the cost of everything, it's like astronomical. But you only have the one option of people talking about it. Like, that to me is very outdated as well. And if the NBA took control of that, it could be another, you could upsell. You could be like, you can have all these broadcasters and all these like whatever, you know. That's some version of that will happen, I think, in like 10 years. But Bally Sports dying, which is a Fox News subsidiary, they're the biggest RSN. Them going into insolvency, not even bankrupt. They've been in bankruptcy court for like 2 years, but them going into insolvency is kind of like the first, or one of the first, I think, big dominoes to kind of drop of the NBA going like, maybe this isn't the greatest, not the greatest, setup, because Bally Sports. There's no Barclays on the broadcast. I like Alvin and the other guy beefing on the YouTube after show. Which one's that? I've only seen the Jack Armstrong, Leo Routins, Akil Alexander, Randy Urban show. There's good moments in that show, definitely. When they're not eating, but I don't know what the Alvin show is. Do we hit an hour? Hour 7. Great. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Your Toronto Raptors beat the Charlotte Hornets. Barely the Charlotte Hornets. 114-99.